Lisa Starr with another episode of StarCast. We are back on the road, live from New York. It is not Saturday night, however. It is Tuesday, late January, and I am at the annual unveiling of the Global Wellness Trends presented by the Global Wellness Summit. So there are about 160 journalists from all forms of media here today to hear the trends. The summit always releases 10 trends, and they are usually pretty futuristic, and they will pace us for the next year on how we do development and marketing in the wellness field. They speak to spa, fitness, and all manner of things that we use in our daily lives in the wellness industry. I'm going to read the list to you. I haven't memorized it yet. The number one trend, written by Beth McGroarty: women get their own lane in longevity. And this has to do with the rise of women generally, but the fact that very much of the research in the medical field for decades has been done on men. And now we're starting to get some female attention on that. And, especially glands and things that are specific to us, such as ovaries. Number two trend, written by Jessica Smith, was the over-optimization backlash. So this is, I think, a little further to the analog trend from last year of people trying to kind of push back a little bit on knowing our data all the time. The rise of neuro wellness, very interesting, regulating the nervous system for a new era of human well-being. Number four, fragrance layering. Number five, ready is the new well, preparing for climate disaster. Number five, skin longevity redefines beauty. So products going really deeper into what makes the skin last longer. And not just that you're putting a cream on, but that it has a powerful impact. Globalization of wellness. Women in sports. The revolution continues. More lifting, women-focused activities and events, and training. We've been told for years to keep lean and mean, and everybody's doing Pilates, but now we're learning that it's okay to lift weights. Number 9 is tackling microplastics, and we covered this on StarCast earlier. Dr. Jerry Bodick and Trent Monday both wrote a white paper, and there is an initiative under the Global Wellness umbrella for microplastics. And lastly, longevity residences, written by Jane Kitchen, who is the trends analyst for Global Wellness Institute, and it has to do with residences that are more specifically built for longevity beyond wellness real estate. So we'll hear from a few of the journalists present on their thoughts in this episode on these trends that I hope you will use for the next year. I'm here with Claire McCormick. Hi, Claire. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Claire is the senior editor of the Beauty Independent and knows all things wellness. We've talked many times over the years about wellness.
It's been an amazing source for stories I've written over the years.
Thank you so much. So here at the press event, we heard about 10 trends. One of which you wrote, and I will get to that in a minute. But what did you hear? What struck you about what you heard?
There were some interesting things. Of course, I love the women get their own lane in longevity. I think that having written about, let's say, the menopause and perimenopause for so many years, one of my chief complaints was that we're not, by talking about it so much, we called it menopause for so long. It was leaving women out in their phase, and that these hormonal changes were happening to them, and they were not checking for it, because when they hear menopause, we think women in their 50s, women with gray hair. And so the women getting their own lane in longevity, to me, is a real expansion of that idea that this is something for women at all ages, that you can start looking into your biometrics way earlier than we currently are. And that is the path to real longevity, where we're not just living a long life, we're living a long life where we're mobile and conscious and really able to enjoy things.
I think it comes as a surprise to many of us, myself included, when we learned just in recent few years that all the research on, everything medical has been done on men.
Oh my gosh.
Women were never the subjects, because I guess the thought was, we're humans, right? But newsflash, men are different than women. And they've just discovered that, women's bodies don't respond the same way. Imagine. So
who would have thought?
Now It's wonderful to know that we're getting our own, specific research. Did anything else stand out to you that you heard?
I like that they covered fragrance, so I haven't read the trends yet about fragrance layering.
Hello.
I haven't read the trend yet about fragrance layering, but this is something we've written a lot about at Beauty Independent, not just fragrance layering. The fragrance category is white hot right now in
Really?
beauty. Yes, like a lot of growth, a lot of investment. So it's interesting that they wrote about it, but also there's this whole tie-in with functional fragrances, it's basically aromatherapy, but instead of for your room, it's
For you.
scents that you wear. And there's a big movement of also just beauty and skincare products that also have these neuroscience and mood benefits. So I'll be very interested to read that trend and see what they have to say about the impact of fragrance as a wellness category.
Well, it does connect to your brain, right? We know that the limbic system is hardwired through our nose, through our olfactory system. And the way that you can walk into a room and smell something and think of your grandmother's house or an experience that you had. So it makes sense, but I love that they're adding it to products that we were already using
Yes.
to beautify ourselves in some way. It's just another added benefit, I guess, and to make it personalized. So that's always key. Women in sports, another trend that we heard
Yeah.
about.
And that we've also been watching closely because it started a few years ago where a lot of beauty brands were starting to partner with female athletes in a big way, having them be the face of the brand, besides female athletes like the Williams sisters launching their own brands, but also all sorts of across the beauty spectrum, all sorts of companies really partnering with female athletes, which is great, as opposed to nothing against content creators and influencers. But if you have the choice to have like an Olympiad as the face of your brand, I think that that's such a wonderful message to the younger generation for how they can interact with the beauty industry. So I'm also very excited to read about that. It's a hot area.
I really like that they talked about how it's okay to have muscle, and it's thought to be more healthy now for women to work on strength training. I've learned as I've aged that that's an important component of the routine
Yes.
is to lift weights at the gym and push yourself because that keeps your bone density from fading away. Really good attention on that.
Very much.
So, Claire, you were also the author of one of these 10 trends, which is awesome. Skin longevity redefines beauty. So, we've talked about longevity all year.
Yes.
How does it translate in this trend into being that specific topic?
It's interesting because, and again, I'll say what I said on stage, that when I first heard the term skin longevity, I was like, here we go again. This is another marketing term. Now we're pulling in wellness ideas because anti-aging was just this big marketing term. But after speaking to all the people I got to speak to for the trend, I really was convinced that this is a lot more than just marketing speak. There is deep research being done. And we had L'Oreal come on stage. There's deep research being done for decades into not just how can we make this thing that people don't like about their skin look better or appear better, but what are those mechanisms, like on to the cellular level? What are those mechanisms that cause hyperpigmentation, that cause sagging, that cause wrinkles? And how can we like interrupt that process? They're really doing that kind of science, and that's fascinating to me. And I think anti-aging, there were really incredible products that were very innovative, but you would never know that from the term anti-aging, right? It's just very much like fix this problem. And so what I like about skin longevity is that it does point to the more scientific side of what's being worked on. And so when the people that I spoke to look down the road, I always ask, like, what does this look like in 5 years? And people talk about hyper specialization within skincare. So you can go to Plus Diagnostics, you can get a blood panel, a skin longevity blood panel done. And based on the results of that panel, you will be able to go get hyper specific skincare that really about those markers, like whatever you are more prone to aging wise, you can get a product that will really address those as well as possible. And that's fascinating.
It is fascinating. Do you see it as something that will be done through the healthcare system as opposed to going to Ulta?
Such a great question, and something that we watch so closely also, how healthcare and beauty and everything comes together. I'm always looking at what's being sold with like HSA and FSA funds, because that's kind of like where healthcare comes in, right?
Sure.
And I think that that would probably be a first place. Like whether you'll be able to like get your blood drawn at Ulta, maybe that's several years down the road. But I think that those products will be able to be purchased with like an FSA fund. And I think that's the first step to like, okay, we're really bringing this beauty and healthcare aspect together.
It was fascinating to hear Philip from L'Oreal. I forgot his last name. Chief,
Patrick, I think it's Patrick. Yeah.
Chief Innovation Officer, 4,000 scientists at
I know.
L'Oreal working on this very factor of like
Yeah.
how we bring that longevity to the skin. And I think what I heard him say was we have the science, we don't yet know how to put it in the bottle.
Yes, exactly. And so that's going to be the big challenge, is how do they take, like I said, they have figured out they have basically mapped all the different ways that we age, and that the specific path inside the body on the cellular level, how it happens. Okay, so now that we have that, how do we bring that to the shelves of Ulta, or even, we'll probably start with like a specialized group of people, and bringing it to the masses will take a while. But the fact that they're able to map that out, I think is very interesting, and something that I will be keenly watching, because I didn't think L'Oreal, like you think L'Oreal, you think, okay, you go to the drugstore, they have mascara, they have like some really great hair care brands. I didn't know they had 4,000 scientists really in labs doing groundbreaking research.
So fascinating. Yeah. So as a result of the research you did in writing this trend, Claire, what have you changed about your own routine?
I want to see what I can get done to get my own diagnostic work done. So that's where it really starts, is what they want to democratize is getting that diagnostic work done so you can map your own kind of aging process. I want to look into getting whatever I can get done. I don't think that blood panel is around yet, but I spoke to Federico Luna. He's at the brand Timeline. So Timeline makes really great topical skincare products. They also make a adjustable product. I'm going to talk to him and see what we can do about what kind of testing I can do now to start to shed some light on that process. So Timeline had sent me a while ago their supplement, and I did start taking it, but only like a few weeks ago. So I don't know.
Well, you're looking younger than ever to me. So thank you again, Claire McCormick from Beauty Independent, for joining us here at the Global Trends event.
Thank you.
Darlene, after all of your years in beauty and wellness, you have many clients that are spas, big well-known spas. What did you hear today in trends that you think this is something that my clients can use in their marketing?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I heard a lot of things today. Some themes keep coming to the forefront, and that is like personal connections are really important. I think with all of us on digital devices and the coming of AI, whatever that is going to look like in the future, what's real is that we're going to need more human interaction and more access to things like that. So I loved one of the trend about festivals, the festivalization of wellness.
Community fun.
Yeah, turning like anything and everything into like a gathering or a get together. I think people will naturally crave that. And if it can be good for us too, like I know I've seen this on the streets in Austin, Texas, where I live, is like sober Sunday dance parties. And they take place at about 10:30 in the morning, and there's coffee like at the W Hotel, just like in the restaurant that overflows out onto the streets. So, and it's packed. The line is around the block to go into these things. So I'm already seeing it like just from, and that's normally around like South by Southwest times and stuff. But there's definitely a trend towards that. And I think those can only get bigger. And Daybreaker is another big one that I think was started here in New York, and they go all across the country and do like dance parties just in the middle of the day. So I love that because I think we're all going to crave that. There were some, let's see, fragrance layering was another trend. I'm not sure how that applies to any of the industries that, our clients fit into, but I do it personally.
You do it?
We
How do
do
you
it.
do it?
Well, I learned from Pietro Simone. Okay. So he has like over 300 bottles of perfume in his repertoire. It could be
300?
300. And when you go there and he says, if you're friendly and friends with him, I used to do his PR, he would say like, oh, do you need some perfume? I'm like, sure. And he'd spray. And then he would know exactly which one layered on top of that beautifully. And it would make like its own scent. Like, I think you have to have a nose for that. And I think it's really kind of a special thing. And I actually went out and bought like the 2 fragrances that he layered for me. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's a thing and I think it's interesting. I don't know how it gets applied. Do you?
I don't know either, but
Yeah.
someone else, another editor that I talked to earlier, said the same. Like, we are connected. The olfactory system in our brain are really connected strongly, and it inspires memories in you when you smell something. So why not take that to another level and have a specific scent that means something to you, but that you could use in more than just putting on your wrist? So I don't know how it will translate, but I could see in a spa having personalized scent in the treatment room, right? At some point. I mean, I know for myself when I'm offered a service with lavender scent, like, I don't want lavender. It's like nothing against my grandmother, but that's what it makes me think of. Maybe we need to start thinking about options beyond music, for treatment.
True, smells. The very first trend I loved a lot, I mean, as it relates to like marketing and fitting this into like, okay, how do our clients fit into this? That's why I love this event, is because I get to come and hear firsthand what their people are seeing on the front lines in terms of like, what's trending and what's like backed with science. And they are the authority to put these trends out. And so when I come, I always think, okay, well, how could our clients apply to that? And the first one, which was women get their own lane in longevity. I think for so long we've heard all of these studies, were done with men, and like that was the focus of so many. I can't even think of an example.
Decades of medical research. It was done on men.
Right.
We've only recently realized that, wow, nothing was done on women.
I know. And so I feel like there's this empowerment movement that's going to happen with women, and also to the strength training aspect of it and how important that is. And I hear that more and more. And anyone with a gym, of course, could apply this trend to their offerings, to their hotel or resort or spa or whatever, because strength training apparently helps us in so many more ways than just looking fit and being strong.
Do you do strength training yourself?
I try to, but it's really hard to go. It's so boring to me. I would rather be on the trail, like looking at nature with the trees and seeing the water and like lifting weights in the gym for an hour.
I go to one of those classes at F45 where you lift weights with others.
That's good.
I mean, you kind of have to rush through it, but I like it. And I go twice a week and it makes me do it. And I'm probably one of the older people in there, and I see these young women around me and I'm like, oh, they're lifting that. It makes me want to try a little harder. But I was, we were taught, oh, you don't want to get too bulky. And now it's kind of different. We're hearing, no, you should lift heavier weights as you age.
Right. And there's been so much conflicting information, like, no, do a lot of repetitions with the lower weight. And now everyone's saying like, no, heavier weights, to the point of like, you can't lift it for bone health. And so, hopefully some of those things will become more clear as more studies are done on women's health. And the emphasis is on us. I can tell you this, I want to go to Parsley Health Clinic, whatever it is, wherever it is, like I'm sold, I want to go there. And like hearing that things like that are available to women is exciting.
Let's talk about that Parsley Health. It wasn't a trend, but we had a speaker this morning from there. I mean, sorry for the sirens. We're in New York City. What can you say? What that she said grabbed your attention?
Just that they're focused on prevention. And I love that idea. Like, we want to find out what's wrong with you before you come to us and tell us that there's something wrong. So I want to live the longest life I can live. And I would like a doctor or someone knowledgeable to tell me which tests I need to be taking and to be monitoring, these levels in my blood and keeping an eye on things. And it's exactly what she said. Like women rely on their OBGYN so much. And I do, like, that's my
It's
doctor.
the one we go to every year.
And they don't know anything about like all the other stuff so they can't be the be all end all, but I am looking for a change, and I feel very like hopeful and excited that maybe somebody can address my personal health in a way that suits me better. And I think too, like, hearing of places like this, those are opportunities for spas and resorts to bring in a guest speaker that maybe then, hey, we're going to teach all of our guests that these, resources are out there, and like health is being handled in a different way. And I think that's uplifting and exciting. And it's just going to make all of us, collectively live longer, which is what, longevity is.
Well, it's not just longer, it's better.
This is
Getting
true.
longer and better. To that note, we had Jane presented the trend on longevity residents.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you react to that in terms of, we've been hearing about wellness real estate, but this is maybe a step up from that.
I know. I mean, I think that I like the repositioning of it or the segment of it, because I do think that there have been some wellness residences that have popped up and like, oh, let's stick this name on it, and maybe it's going to turn into, maybe it's going to be the, thing that everyone comes to and wants to buy for, however many millions of dollars per residence. I'm not naming any names, of course, but, and that's all great for marketing and sales, but like really like longevity says to me, I like the way that she explained, or Veronica explained it. It's like when you are going into like thinking about where you want to live, is this a place that you want to be for 20, 30, 40 years to like live out your life?
And can you be supported in all the things that may evolve in the next 20, 30, 40?
Yeah, and then how do you build that? Like either in a residence, or do you find a community that really is committed to like long-term, health? And it's sort of, it's like a new, not really a nursing home, but it is maybe that type of care that we're getting at a younger age before we need, a nurse, but that will help us, live our best. I don't know. How did you feel? What did you think about it?
The same. I thought, oh, this is a different way of looking at it, not just wellness, because wellness could be, well, it's sustainable and there's fresh air and water,
Right.
which are all good. We like that, but
And
is that focused
every Saturday?
Right. I mean, is that helping us live longer? Tangentially, for sure.
Yeah.
But it maybe isn't focused on that particular. And it sounds like the longevity wellness residences have more medical components. Moving to Mexico and starting a magazine, as one does. So here she is in New York joining us for the press event. And Sarah, I wanted to ask you what you thought about the trends you heard today. We heard 10 wellness trends from the broad array of writers. So, what did you think about what you heard? Which ones stood out to you?
Definitely the fact that women are taking a leading role in longevity now. I think this is long overdue. And it's everything from looking at how supplements, medications, and even wellness practices affect women's bodies differently. If we think about cold exposure, about fasting, all of these things, a lot of them are promoted by men. We think of the famous biohackers and longevity voices. They're men, and the history of the medical research is that testing is done on men because a menstrual cycle messes up your results. But when half the population has either a menstrual cycle or they're going through perimenopause or they're postmenopausal, then this is relevant, and we need research and we need studies that show the effects of wellness practices, medications, and supplements specifically on women. So the fact that this is finally coming to fruition is amazing. That anyone the age 33 or below will have the option to never go through menopause. And they're looking at decoding the ovary. I mean, how phenomenal is this?
Yeah, that'll be great. It'll be great for them. We missed it.
And in another trend, it was women in sports. So women doing strength training and focusing on muscle growth, because really muscle is the key to longevity for everyone.
Strength and muscle and bone, right?
Yes.
we've talked with a few speakers about this concept of, we were kind of afraid to bulk up and use heavy weights. And now we're being told, no, lift heavier weights. It builds your bone strength, which is
Exactly.
important as you age.
And for most women, you can go really heavy and not bulk up. Like, it doesn't happen easily for most women. You can get stronger without actually looking bulky. But yeah, muscle tone being so important for women specifically, for independence into old age, for all types of longevity, and yes, bone health. So definitely that was fascinating. One that I think is a conversation long overdue and really a very worrying conversation, but important, is the microplastics trend, because we've all known about microplastics probably around a decade now, but the fact that they are now showing that they are in all of the organs of the body, they are crossing the blood-brain barrier into the brain.
That's scary.
They could be passed on to future generations. So a woman who has microplastics, which is everyone, can give birth, and the baby is born with microplastics in their tissues, which is so scary. So looking at ways to reduce exposure and eliminate them from the body, which includes wellness practices like sauna use and various other wellness modalities.
It would be great if the sauna use would burn them out of us, right?
We sweat them out through sauna use, but it takes time, yes, but that can help. That is fascinating and great that it's going to get some more media attention. Yes. I think also the festivalization of wellness is fantastic. I love this. As someone who is very much into fitness and community fitness, I'm part of a huge PDC fitness club. Shout out. If you're ever in Playa del Carmen, come work out with us. We work out on the beach. We have a stadium workout and we do a run club. So working out with a group of people changes the entire experience to a communal experience, and it's about social wellness. And we have coffee party with a DJ every Wednesday morning after we run. We literally dance at 8:30, 8 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday after we run. And we have events together. I mean, a lot of us have signed up for High Rocks that's coming to a town near us in Mexico. And all of these competitions and wellness festivals are so important for community. Joining half marathons and marathon races. And the more this happens, the more people will move towards wellness activities for social engagement rather than unhealthy activities such as drinking.
Well, it's sort of, to me, it's an offshoot of what we're seeing in sauna, right? Because people want to go to the bathhouse with their friends. And I think that's one reason it has taken off so much. And I also think, I'm sure you may feel this way, that when you have a community you exercise with, you feel more compelled to go.
Definitely.
And that you'll be missed if you're not there. I know for the gyms that I go to, if I take a certain class, I feel like, oh, I need to be there. Of course I don't. No one cares if I'm not there. But you put this pressure on yourself of like, oh, I need to be there. And then hence you work out more.
And more than just the exercise, you want to go and see your friends.
Right.
You want to go for the social engagement as much as for the exercise. And then you start the day off or finish the day feeling great because you've had social interaction, which, as we know, is so much more important than we ever thought of before, because there's a loneliness epidemic, and people who don't have that social connection is, what do they say, loneliness is equivalent to drinking 6 drinks a day or having many cigarettes
really
a day.
bad,
and if you're going to lead a wellness life, but you don't have social engagement, there's no point to it, because you might as well just be out socializing and doing unhealthy behaviors with your group of friends. But if you find your people and you can do wellness activities instead, then you really do have a well life.
Well, and we know from the Blue Zone studies that was one of the things in common with all the people in those longevity studies, was that they had active social lives, and they had friends and they used them. They didn't sit alone on their house watching television.
Yes.
Anyway, so how about the rise of neuro wellness? I thought that was really interesting.
Very interesting. I can't wait to read a little bit more about this one. And this is really talking about the nervous system regulation. If we think about living in a high stress world environment, actually trying to actively calm the nervous system with the devices, wearables, and technology we have access to. Like, everyone nowadays with a wearable can monitor their HRV. You can get up in the morning and see how well you slept, your resting heart rate. And this data can really tell us, like, okay, so the actions I took yesterday, they're showing up in my data that I see this morning, and how good am I feeling? What is my optimization level? Like, how ready am I for the day? You know, living with stress in the background constantly is not good for us. So really focusing on nervous system regulation will be a definite positive move.
It seems like another natural step forward from having our wearables to track the obvious things like your pulse rate and how many steps you took, into now measuring more ephemeral, if you will, qualities of your neuro wellness, but they're just as important. I think this whole world of neuro is fascinating. We had Ari Peralta on StarCast just last week, who's an expert in neuro wellness. And he mentioned the woman who we saw on the screen earlier, Susan Maximin. Fascinating research that they're doing, and money and funding behind it. It's all about, you know, they've said beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And so really it is, when we see beauty and have beauty around us, we feel better, even if beauty means something different.
Yes. Yeah. The effects of art on our brain is something that can really help calm the nervous system. So that's really intriguing to find out more about this trend as we read through the document.
Yeah, we have a big book to read. Skin longevity.
This is really interesting, and I'm really excited to read through this trend and follow some of the links, because as we heard today during the trend, it's not just about another iteration of an anti-aging cream that everyone's going to say is fantastic and the latest ingredients, etc., etc. It's really about personalization. It's about using and identifying ingredients that really activate the energy of the cells, whether it's activating the mitochondria that are producing the ATP, the energy powerhouses of the cells, but really helping the cells function as they did when they were younger and healthier. Because we know, after the age of, mid-20s, 30s, our cells in our skin stop acting the same way, and they do have a decline in function. Although people don't like the term anti-aging, we all know what everyone means. And the longevity of the cells and our skincare, if that can really help our skin function better, then what we're going to be seeing on the outside is a reflection of health that's also on the inside, which is the main point, really.
So, Sara, you're based in Playa del Carmen, as we mentioned, on the Mexican Riviera. What trends are you seeing? I mean, it's a high tourism area from Cancun south. Do these things manifest themselves in the resorts around you?
Definitely, yes, but also in the community. We've now got longevity centers popping up in Playa del Carmen, in Cancun, in Tulum, with hyperbaric chambers, with IV drips, with red light therapy. Obviously, saunas becoming way more accessible and popular. But even in the cities, in Monterrey, in Mexico City, and across Latin America, you've got these wellness facilities offering a lot of experiences, modalities to people. And in the resorts, yes, it's definitely something that is normally built in when they're first opening rather than added on once they are already open, because it's a big investment for a lot of the hydrotherapy facilities. But I mean, I was talking with some leaders in hospitality about when are we going to see cryotherapy chambers just built as part of the hydrotherapy. I mean, they're not that different in cost to a great sauna. And why shouldn't it be just part of the facility that's there for everyone to use? We don't necessarily think of making sure we have an ROI on a sauna in a hydrotherapy in a high-level spa, but we do think of the ROI. We think of putting a cryotherapy chamber in there, but when will that change? And it'll change at the top level first. So the real premium hospitality brands need to take the first step and just offer cryotherapy for all their guests at any time. Maybe you book, maybe you don't. It's only, a 3.5-minute session. You probably don't need to book.
It's a great point you're raising, because you're right. I mean, you have to pay for cryotherapy everywhere. You don't pay to go in the sauna.
Not typically. If you're in a high-end resort, that's just there for you to use.
Maybe it's because the sauna fits 20, 30 people and the cryo chamber typically doesn't. I mean, they are expensive.
But it's a short turnaround time.
It's true.
So you can fit a lot of people in throughout the day. And in terms of cost, it's not that different or that much more. If you're putting in a huge hydrotherapy facility anyway, or a high level hydrotherapy facility, that's not that big of an investment because you've already got a really significant investment already to get any decent hydrotherapy facility that has all of the elements. So I would like to see one day soon cryotherapy being offered as part of the hydrotherapy facilities. Let's see who'll do it first.
Says the woman who goes on the beach every morning and takes a cold plunge.
Not every morning, every Sunday.
So, maybe the answer is the snow room, like the Techno-Alpine snow room. Had Sarah Brenninger on StarCast recently talking about how they're making a snow room that you walk into and you can do that with friends. So maybe that will be the next thing.
Definitely. Yes. You can also get bigger cryotherapy chambers where you can fit multiple people in. So, yes. And the contrast therapy, we know that's not a trend for this year, but it has been a previous trend and it's not going anywhere.
Well, thank you, Sarah Jones, again for joining us and your great
Thanks,
insights.
Lisa.
Good to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks.
Jane Kitchen, Lisa Starr. Thank you for joining us here on StarCast. Jane is a media trends analyst now for the Global Wellness Institute, or Summit. And Jane wrote a trend this year on longevity residences. So could you tell us a little bit about what that means? I mean, I imagine it means if I live somewhere, I'll live longer.
In theory, yes. So the title of my trend is Longevity Residences Health Span Finally Hits Home. And what it really is about, Lisa, is, we've been talking about wellness real estate for years now. I think it was 2018 when the Global Wellness Institute first kind of identified it as a category. We hosted Wellness Real Estate Symposium every year. It's a big, and it is the biggest, fastest growing sector of the wellness economy.
The residency part.
Wellness real estate is just, growing faster than any other sector. So what we're seeing though this year is that there's kind of this new subsector of underneath that wellness real estate, wellness architecture umbrella, a new subsector of these longevity residences. Most of these places are not built yet. They're all in development, right? So they're just concepts, they're ideas. I mean, they're getting built, they're made. They've got some massive backing behind them. But you have places like the Estate, that's Sam Azarian's company, and they're building, it's combination residences and hotels, but there's definitely a residential component around it. They've got really ambitious plans to build, I think it's 15 locations by 2030.
That's 5 years from now.
Exactly.
4 years,
4 years from now.
Wow.
So they're building in St. Kitts in Switzerland, the US, the UK. I think they're building like an island in the UK. Anyway, they're creating this whole kind of longevity infrastructure within the residential component so that you will have kind of advanced diagnostics, medical testing, access to all these kinds of biohacking, all the things that we're talking about in the longevity world, you'll have access to in your home or within your home environment.
So are these more souped up versions of the wellness residences we've been seeing?
I mean, yes, in a lot of ways. So it builds, I think these longevity residences, they build on the shoulders of wellness architecture, right? So you still have all the kinds of things that we're used to talking about in wellness architecture, circadian lighting, and, biophilic design, air filtration, all that kind of stuff. But then they take it a step further. And it's not just the Estate. I mean, there's examples in the report that we have from kind of all over the world. There's an incredible place that's being built in Melbourne that has a whole, it's a multi-billion-dollar development, but with a whole like anti-aging clinic. But it has this whole dome around it. Like a bubble. Yeah, but it's huge. Anyway, worth looking up and looking into that. But
what's it called?
Elysium Fields.
I did see that in Spa Business.
Yeah, it's really cool. And, I think there are some developments that are probably using the word longevity just as a kind of marketing thing, as opposed to like really adding real value and additional things. But there's definitely, and then there are some that maybe aren't using that word specifically, but still seem to fit that kind of concept. Like what Shaw is doing in the UAE with this whole island that they're building, they're calling it wellness real estate. But they're building it with a Shaw medical wellness clinic, which sort of fits with all that advanced diagnostics and things like that.
So are you going to move to one of these places?
If I could afford it, Lisa, maybe.
Yeah, that's the next question, is how we make it affordable. But I mean, everything costs so much now. No matter what you're building, a drugstore, everything costs so much, then these things cost even more.
Yeah.
And finding the funding for what is considered unproven concepts must be difficult. I mean, I know people like Sam Nazarian, they probably have access to the capital but
I think there's so much money being poured into longevity at the moment. I mean, there's part of that is, just the changing demographics of the world. Like, we are all living longer, and so people are sort of saying, if I'm going to live to be 120, like, what can I do now to make sure that I'm not in the same state as my mom at 80?
First of all, we have to save our money.
There's that whole side of things as well.
So, Jane, that's wonderful info on the trend that you wrote and you researched, but you also have a role now as the media trends analyst for the organization, and you help to curate all of these 10 trends. And it's a lot of work. I know you start like tomorrow, right, on the list for next year. Could you tell us a little bit about what the process is like behind the scenes now that you're a member of the team? I mean, there's so much information and new technology, and how do you sift through it all to find the nuggets that become these trends?
I mean, it is a process, and it is a long process. We don't exactly start tomorrow. We do take a tiny break to just relax a little bit and not think about trends for a month or two. But we do start quite early, and which is challenging because the trends are so long and in depth that people really need a long time to write them, right? So we have to start early. We have to stagger them. So we have various meetings throughout the year. We engage with kind of trusted resources around the world who, where we kind of say like an Anna Bierstrom or something, like, what are you seeing? What's happening? What's cutting edge? What's going on? And we do a lot of interviews with people that we know are generally on the cutting edge of a lot of things in wellness. We have some pretty regular trends writers now, and we will often ask them, because a lot of them are not just trends writers, but they're like literally trends analysts in their 9-to-5 jobs, right? And so we will ask them, like, what are you seeing? What are you thinking about? What's interesting out there? And then we always, I think we always get inspiration from our events as well, some of the speakers who come to the events. So there will be something, potentially when we do our real estate event in May, there might be something that comes out of that, depending on how the conversation goes. There's usually something that comes out of the Global Wellness Summit as well. It was a bit challenging this year because the timing of it was so late, and then, we have to turn this around quite quickly. So that's kind of just really talking to a lot of people. We also use like our Global Wellness Institute, the people who head up the different initiatives, who are experts in those different fields, will usually do some kind of white paper somewhere throughout the year. And so we look at, the microplastics trend that we did came out of that because there was suddenly so much information that Jerry Bodeker had put together, and like, this is huge, and the implications are huge for health.
I had Jerry and Trent on StarCast in September, and we talked about it, and it's scary when you listen to them. I went around my house afterwards, like, looking at all the plastic that's touching my food and thinking, is this in my brain? But you're presented with so much information. Do you as a team decide, what you and Beth will say, okay, these are going to be the 10 that we focus on?
Yeah, I mean, there's a team effort, and we do spend a lot of time, we argue, like sometimes there's, and sometimes we lose battles, but, and sometimes there are things that, we might say one year, let's hold that for next year. I'm not sure it's quite ready, but it's like, this seems to be a kernel of something. So, and things change so quickly.
They do. There's so many trend lists now. I mean, and that's January, right? It's all the trend lists come out, and you want to be ahead, at least in wellness, of those other trends. It's hard not to piggyback, though, what other people say. I mean, the research that's done here is more in depth, I think. And I do love that you use leaders in the field that they're in who know it really well to write about it. Are there other trends this year that you think we'll see next year?
I couldn't tell you that, Lee.
That would be sweet. Just thought I'd try. So we have these 10 trends. Which ones do you think will resonate the most most with audiences, or is there a particular one you think is really media friendly?
I mean, I think, so Beth's trend about women getting their own lane in longevity is just, I mean, it is so incredibly well researched. There's so much detail, and there's so much to it, and so much, you know, information that is suddenly coming out like this year about ovaries and being the kind of the driver of female biology and not just reproductive organs. And, you know, just the sense of like, there's a moment in the trend where it's like she's talking to, you know, various doctors studying this kind of ovarian health. Don't let any, wait, why did we think it was okay to, like, why do we not fight this, right? It would be like if you, it's like saying like, oh, you have heart disease, like just
Just let it go.
So I think there's so much there, and there is such a movement behind it. I really think it's having a moment. There's so much research, so many women doctors who are really kind of driving this. So I think that's really good to for the media. That will be interesting. The over-optimization backlash, which is, it's almost kind of more like a framing trend, because it is this kind of huge cultural shift where, you know, and it kind of goes, it touches on a lot of the other trends, right? So it's just talking about how we're so tired of just like, I mean, I stay here with my...
Right, as we're laden with our tracking device.
But, you know, that it's just like, is it really doing us any good, like, past a certain point? And is there some cultural movement against that where we kind of say, no, actually I've had enough, and people, and so that plays into things like the festivalization of wellness, which is, you know, all about joy and, you know, bringing like rave culture into wellness and pleasure and all this kind of, and it is just very low-key, and it's not about optimizing anything, right? And that is actually one of my favorite trends, and I think it's another one that it's like a sort of evolution of what we've been seeing for a while with this kind of like community wellness we've been talking about forever, right? So it's like that, but so much more, and all these ways that people are coming together to feel emotion, express emotion, you know, like Sanctum that we just, were you in there for weeks? Yeah, I mean, just, it's incredible, because every time I've experienced something with Sanctum, I always tear up. Every time.
But you feel the joy and the joy of doing it with your tribe.
Exactly. And there's some kind of emotional release that happens through that movement, through the music, the movement, through the connection. It's really, so it's fascinating. And so I really love that trend too. What else? I mean, microplastics, we've obviously seen a lot in the news lately, and there's so much. I think what's interesting is thinking about the ways that the wellness industry will get involved with that, as opposed to it just being kind of a more scientific, more medical kind of thing, you know?
For sure. I just spoke with Davide Bellotti, from CEO of Comfort Zone, who's here, and he said, oh yes, we're researching this all the time.
Yeah.
You know, from a brand and packaging perspective, how do you get rid of the plastics? They've already done a lot, but we have a long way to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Jane Kitchen, we love your input. We're so happy you're in the wellness industry now.
I'm so happy.
How many years has it been now? 8, 10? 10 years.
Almost 11.
Has it? Well, we're happy to have you, and thanks for sharing.
It's so good to see you.